During the 1900s, there was a man by the name of Wilhelm von Osten who really believed that animals could obtain a similar intelligence if they were taught. He literally went through a variety of different animals, failing miserably in teaching them. His theory was beginning to feel more like a fluke up until he came across a German horse by the name of Clever Hans. Hans was first taught basic math using Skittles. Osten would present a quantity of candy and associate it with a value. He progressed to replacing the Skittles with just the numbers themselves this time, and started to mix elementary math into the lessons. At first, the horse was accurately solving basic sums, and later, even computing more advanced problems involving squares and cube roots. The investigators at the time began to notice that Hans actually had the intelligence of a 14-year-old student through exhibiting an extraordinary ability to not only know how to do math, but also know how to read, distinguish musical harmonies, tell the date, and possess an impressive memory. When word got to the public about this strange case, everyone, I'm talking psychologists, doctors, veterinarians, professors, and even the circus manager himself, wanted to see the spectacular horse. Collectively, they studied Hans for approximately 5 weeks. Some of them were more eager to debunk Osten than to inspect the horse. They suspected that some deceit was at play, but all of their doubts diminished when they questioned the horse directly. To their surprise, Hans answered all of their questions with ease, and even in the absence of his trainer. They documented this and even noted that they did not see any trickery at play. Their report, however, did not faze the critics. This included a psychologist by the name of Oskar Funkst. Funkst thought they were all collaborating with one another and talking nonsense, so he took matters in his own hands and went to investigate the animal himself. What he discovered was unlike the others. According to him, Hans knew absolutely nothing about math and barely could recognize any musical notes. At best, the horse was just simply recognizing very basic sounds and movements that his trainer did. Funkst reported this to the public, and basically everybody believed him when he said that Osten was indeed a fraud. The very next year, Osten died as a bitter man, probably because his claims about this horse were discredited all at once because of one man. In his will, he gave another man ownership of Hans. Now, this person was named Karl Krau, and he looked past the debunking claims of the previous investigators. As a matter of fact, he actually saw a lot of potential in the horse and resumed teaching him in a patient and persistent manner. This turned out to be an effective teaching method because Hans improved skill-wise. Krau was obsessed with teaching horses apparently because he retrieved more of them and was soon teaching a classroom full of horses. When he became confident in his teaching abilities, he invited intellectuals from all over the world to come see his school of horses. Intellectuals came in groups or alone to inspect the animals in the absence of their trainer, and what they concluded, quite unanimously, was that the previous man who debunked this case was not speaking the truth because the horses they witnessed were actually very intelligent and did everything Krau and Osten claimed they could do. I mean, these horses were calculating things that most of us can't even do in our own heads. For example, some of the problems they were asked to calculate were the square root of 1,874,161, and to give the fourth root of 7,890,481. They even communicated using sign language, as one of the witnesses noted how a horse tapped out the words tired and pain in leg immediately after stopping his work. When the horses were asked how they communicate with one another, they tapped out the sentence with mouth. And when they asked a follow-up question to that, such as, "Why didn't you say that out loud?" the horse subsequently replied, "Because I have no voice." Eerily, all these horses died because of World War I. Today, only one notable and similar case regarding horses was conducted in 1957. This was a horse by the name of Lady Wonder. Now, this case is a little more believable than the previous one because the owners of this horse really did not want to exploit this animal at all. And they even turned down Hollywood agents who were offering large sums of money. According to this humble couple, they actually believe that all animals can perform like Lady Wonder if they were just taught properly. Unlike Austin's and Krell's horses, Lady Wonder was known more for her psychic abilities rather than calculating numbers. People in town went to her in herds for predictions about the weather, elections, sports, remedies, and even locating missing items and bodies. According to the National Enquirer, the police department were also strong believers of this animal's alleged powers because they referred to her to find missing people. In every case, she was deemed to be successful. Her success at times did seem exaggerated, making her a target to intellectuals all across the world. A Duke University professor studied her and concluded that this horse could actually read people's minds. A majority of the society believed that this was a genuine case of a magical horse because Lady Wonder was never seen being aided or given any hints in her answers. She was always just with her keyboard. The messages she did relay were sensical and remarkable because she even accurately predicted that Roosevelt and Truman were going to win in their respective elections. Even racecourse officials caught on to her supernatural abilities and begged the owners to not let people ask the horse who is going to win in the next race. It wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. People began to bring their own personal problems to Lady Wonder. Couples, family relatives, and friends would ask about intricate details about each other's lives, and Lady Wonder left no stones unturned. She exposed everybody and everything in sight. She called out affairs, tragedies, and scandals left and right. These same people began to feel some type of way about this and accused the owners that they were dealing with the devil. You wouldn't believe what happened next. The Lady Wonder owners themselves were caught in a scandal. So there was this magician who saw through the thousands of success stories and decided to confront the psychic animal himself. Unlike the rest, he was smart. Although his name was Milbourne Christopher, he gave the owners a fake name, John Banks. When he asked the horse what his name was, Lady Wonder spelled out John Banks, exactly. This indicated two things. One, the owners were training, preparing, and even queuing answers for the horse by collecting visitor data beforehand and during the visitor confrontation. Two, the owners were using a specific pencil reading technique to get the horse to answer a certain way. Now, this was further confirmed when the magician tricked the owners again. On a piece of paper, he pretended to write the number 9, when in reality, he wrote the number 1. And when he asked the horse what number he wrote, it said 9. All of these instances confirm that Lady Wonder was really just a horse being told what to press. Now, I have mixed opinions on this phenomena because on one hand, I can appreciate the notion that animals are intelligent. As a matter of fact, I really do think animals are smarter than humans in many instances. But on the other hand, I think this was more of a case of animals just doing what they were trained to do. You know? Like, I really think that those equations and responses they were taught were rehearsed over and over again. Now, I don't have a pet, but it reminds me of training a dog to sit or fetch. We as humans sometimes want something to be there when there really just isn't. Lots of group thinking is involved in cases such as these and presents itself in full force when large groups of people claim to see things just because everyone else claims to see things. Of all of those investigators, there were only a handful of people who publicly denounced all of these claims. I don't think that this should be a majority's rule. Perhaps these particular people were just the only ones who were real enough to admit that there was nothing magical, and that's okay. The second account, well, that one genuinely shocked me initially, but just because the owners were painting themselves out to be these humble, God-fearing folks doesn't mean that they were, because even they were caught acting a fool, and it took a magician to call them out. But what do you guys think about these two cases? Do you think that these accounts are believable, or do you think that this was all just a publicity stunt? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting content.